What could you buy for £1 in 1970s Britain? Remember those days when a green pound note felt like a small fortune? Today, a pound will barely buy you a decent cup of coffee. But in 1970s Britain, that single slip of paper in your pocket was a passport to a world of real Christmas treasures. In those years, pocket money truly carried weight. Today we're taking a trip back in time to the era of flared trousers and vinyl records. We'll be stepping inside the legendary Woolworths and small local corner shops to remember 15 gifts you could buy for just £1 sterling. 1. Matchbox cars, 1 to 75 series. These weren't just toys, they were miniature masterpieces of engineering. Each car came in a small cardboard box that resembled a matchbox in size and design, hence the name. Children loved them for their die-cast metal bodies and incredible detail. Tiny plastic headlights, opening doors, and wheels that spun perfectly straight. For about 20 pence, you got something that was almost impossible to break. 2. Star Wars figures by Palitoy. In Britain, Star Wars was represented by the Palitoy Company. These 3.75-inch figures were a revolution. They only had 5 points of articulation: head, arms, and legs. But for a child of the 70s, they were an entire universe. Luke Skywalker came with a tiny telescopic lightsaber in his hand, and Darth Vader had a thin plastic cape. They smelled of fresh vinyl and came on bright blister cards. Losing a tiny blaster in the carpet was the ultimate Christmas tragedy. 3. Airfix model kits, Series 1, the classic blue and white Airfix bag. Inside were grey plastic sprues with parts you had to carefully snap off. The best part was the process, the smell of the special glue that always got on your fingers, and the painstaking task of applying tiny water slide decals. A Spitfire or a Messerschmitt for 25 pence would be proudly hung from the ceiling with fishing line once finished. 4. Vinyl singles, 45 RPM. This was the physical iTunes of the day. A small record with a large hole in the middle, tucked into a paper sleeve with a record label logo like EMI, RCA or Apple. The magic was in placing the needle on the edge and hearing that characteristic crackle and hiss before the guitar riff kicked in. Owning the latest single by your favourite glam rock band made you the coolest kid on the block. 5. Britain's detail soldiers. These were adored for their quality. Unlike cheap single-coloured plastic soldiers, the detail series was hand-painted and featured a heavy metal base made of zinc alloy, painted green. This weight meant they wouldn't fall over on the carpet. Whether they were knights, cowboys, or cobby Tweedy soldiers, they had incredibly realistic poses and facial expressions. 6. Travel games by MB or Dennis Fisher. These were compact versions of hits like Connect 4 or Mastermind. All the pieces snapped into slots so you could play them in the back of a car or on a train. The boxes were made of bright clinking plastic. This was the gadget of the 70s that saved you from boredom during long holiday visits to your grandparents. 7. Comics. The Beano, the Dandy, a true part of the British cultural code. Thin, slightly rough newsprint that left ink on your fingers. Stories of Dennis the Menace or Desperate Dan. Reading them under the covers with a torch was an essential Christmas ritual. 8. Cindy doll accessories. Cindy was the girl next door compared to the American Barbie. While you couldn't buy the doll itself for £1, you could buy a great weekend set. Tiny plastic pumps, a handbag, a comb, and hangers. The clothes were made of quality fabrics like cotton and jersey, featuring real tiny metal poppers. 9. Fuzzy felt. A brilliantly simple toy a flocked blackboard, and a pile of colourful felt cutouts of animals, cars, or people. Thanks to friction, the felt stuck to the board without any glue. It offered endless possibilities for creating pictures. The quiet rustle of sorting through felt pieces is one of the most soothing sounds of a 70s childhood. 10. Christmas selection boxes. A huge, or so it seemed back then, flat box with a festive illustration. Inside were neatly arranged full-size bars, crunchy, picnic, fudge, and curly whirly. The most precious moment was peering at them through the cellophane window and deciding which one to eat first and which to save for later, though they were usually all gone by noon. 11. Leather football, mitre or cheaper alternatives. In the 70s, footballs still smelled of real leather and featured laces or characteristic pentagons. A budget version for £1 was quite hard, especially when it got soaked in the rain, but it was a symbol of freedom. With a ball like that, you became the king of the park, and every kid in the neighborhood would follow you. 12. Annuals. These were thick hardback books with bright glossy covers. Inside was a mix of comics, puzzles, crosswords, and articles. Every year, a new annual was released for all the popular themes, from Blue Peter to football or Doctor Who. The smell of the fresh print in these books. That is the true smell of Christmas. 13. Slime by Mattel. The legendary goo in a small black plastic trash can. It was bright green, cold, sticky, and made hilarious rude noises if you squeezed it in the jar. Parents hated it because it would inevitably get ground into the carpet pile, but kids loved its gross texture. 14. Hot Wheels. Cars, unlike Matchbox, Hot Wheels by Mattel were marketed as the fastest metal wheels in the world. They had thin wire axles and bright fluorescent Spectraflame paint that shimmered in the light. They looked like futuristic custom cars from a Californian dream, contrasting with the more down-to-earth British models. 15. Helix Maths Set. The Oxford set of mathematical instruments. The famous blue tin box. Inside, a metal compass, a protractor, set squares, and an eraser. Even though it was a school tool, receiving a brand new, shiny set as a gift was surprisingly satisfying. Opening the tin came with a pleasant metal click, and everything inside sat in perfect order. Today, £1 is just loose change that we often don't even notice. But for a child in 1975, it was a whole universe of possibilities. It was an era when gifts were valued not for their price tag, but for the pure joy they brought on Christmas morning. What did you buy with your very first £1? Which gifts from Woolworths do you remember the most? Let us know in the comments. Let's take a walk down memory lane together. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and don't forget to subscribe to British Nostalgia. Here, we preserve the history of Britain through details and memories. Merry Christmas, and see you in the next video.